Why are some nurses called to precept or to orient other brand new nurses? There's a few reasons for this, few reasons for me personally. I can't speak to why other nurses do it, but the reasons that I do it, I believe most of these things are probably consistent with other nurses and why they would want to do this as well. So for me, it begins with when I was doing my prerequisites for nursing school, and my anatomy and physiology teacher, Dr. Edgerton, was giving us a lesson one day, and he basically said if we don't learn anything else from his class, that we should learn to do whatever we're doing in whatever aspect that we're doing it with enthusiasm. And the way he said it was with enthusiasm. So he felt that you should love what you're doing and do what you love, which makes common sense. But to hear it in an anatomy and physiology teacher, the way that he was speaking, and the context was he was teaching the Heimlich maneuver to someone. And he was basically saying that if you do the Heimlich maneuver, you should do it as you do everything else in your life, with enthusiasm. Next would be, what does it take to actually become a nurse? Many of the nurses, not all of them, but many of them that I am precepting or training, they are actually quite young. Some of them in their early 20s. Some of them might not necessarily have ever had a real full-time job before. They may just be directly straight out of school, out of the bachelor's program or an associate's program, which, you know, good for them. I was 30 when I became a nurse. I'm 45 now, 44. So what you have is initially they have to learn how to put themselves on a path and to remain on that path. Once they decide to do that and start on that journey, they have to learn how to learn. Then on that path, they learn how to become a nurse. Next, they learn how to educate. They learn how to educate both themselves and they learn how to educate their patients. So it's learn one, do one, teach one. Next, you have learning how to precept or orient. And then after that, you have learning how to become a leader. So it's not necessarily in that order, but that's pretty much the order that these things are achieved. So if you become a preceptor and you give yourself, your time, your devotion, then this is actually, it's not necessarily a duty, it's actually a privilege. So if you imagine, say for me, in 15 years of nursing, I've worked at 25 hospitals in all different types of nursing. So in 1 year, you work about 2,000 hours. So for every 5 years you work about 10,000 clinical hours if you're a clinical bedside nurse. So for me in 15 years, I have about 30,000 nursing hours. In nursing school, you may acquire a few hundred, maybe 300. You may have a 100-hour capstone where you work with a nurse right at the end, right before you graduate. But when you first acquire your RN license, you pass your NCLEX exam, you get your first job, you show up to work your first day in your uniform. That is when the journey really begins. You learn so much. So for most of the nurses that I'm working with now, they're on an 8-week preceptorship. So 8 weeks is about 320 hours. You can imagine, as a brand new nurse, in this first 8 weeks, it's very possible that that's going to be the densest, most intense point of learning in their entire career. And it's a privilege, in order for me, in order for another preceptor, to help guide them on that journey, to share their own experience and knowledge in efficiencies and productivity and prioritization and forms of communication, forms of stress reduction and decompression from stress. All of these things, I mean, there's just, there's a long list of things that you bring to the table that you can exhibit and that you can teach. You can, through intuition and observation, watch what they're going through. Everybody's going to be different. Some people are going to have different skills than others. And you can kind of use your intuition and awareness as a professional nurse in helping shape this brand new nurse. And to me, that's probably the number one reason that I enjoy being a preceptor. There's more, but that's the meat and potatoes of it. That's the value of it, is that you get to give to another human being yourself. Just as when you're a nurse and you're decreasing human suffering, and basically that's two of my major life goals: to decrease human suffering and to be of value and contribute to society. There's a few more major ones, but those are the two that are pertinent here. If you imagine, by you sharing this information and help build this new nurse, if you work with this person on a regular basis, you're going to be able to see the things that you help teach them in their nursing style, in the way that they interact with their patients. So to me, it's like I'm actually helping future patients that I may never meet because of the position that I'm in, the valuable position that I'm in, to help train another nurse and to help do a good job with that. So it's a very, very important job, and I don't take it lightly. I know that if I'm not going to do it well, then I shouldn't do it. So to me, that's the magic of it. Nursing is somewhat of an art form, and it's a difficult job at times, and it's a beautiful job at times, and it's magical. There are things that occur that you would have never anticipated. There are people that appreciate you in ways that you never considered that you would be appreciated. If I were an accountant, if I were somebody that sat behind a desk, not saying that these are not important jobs, but I just don't feel that I would get the satisfaction that I do as a nurse. I don't feel that I would get the joy and the benefit, and that's invaluable to me. So, part of it is asking yourself, this job that I'm doing, this thing that I go to every day, year in, year out, week in, week out, and these difficult positions that I put myself in, physically, logistically, emotionally, all of these things to help take care of these sick patients. Is it something that I love to do? Is it something that I would do maybe even for free? Is it something that I would pay for? And I could answer yes to both of those questions because I have volunteered for hospice in a caregiver role where I just went and sat with patients for caregiver relief, or to offer the patients whatever they needed at the very challenging time. And then as far as paying, I've gone on surgical mission trips to Peru, and when you do that, it's about a 2-week process, 10 to 12 days, and it not only do you have to take off of work and not be making money, it costs $4,000 or $5,000 of mostly of your own money to travel this far, and it's physically and logistically emotional and stressful, but the reward is like, those are some of the most amazing memories that I have of my life, of my time, not only as a nurse, but just in life in general. And so you have to have love, you have to have passion, you have to have enthusiasm. And these are some of the things that I try and teach and be a role model of with these brand new nurses. So. And finally, some of the things that you teach new nurses. Of course, you teach them about different patient types. You teach them about different techniques like IV starts and putting in Foley catheters and nasogastric tubes and all of these things. You teach them about documentation, accurate, thorough, efficiency. You teach them about communication with their patients, the patient families, and also learning how to be part of a team, about how to ask questions, search for answers, how to find out who your resources are, figure out when it is that you need to go to your resources, which in the beginning is very quickly, until you gain the experience and the intuition to know the difference between those. But then also how to channel your energy. When you walk into a patient's room, what they need is a competent, confident, compassionate person that's going to be their advocate. They need you to somewhat have a plan and also to listen to what it is that they need. Is there anything that I can do to make you more comfortable? Here's the plan. Safety, comfort, and whatever the plan of care is. This is who I am. This is how I hope tonight goes for us together. Me, you, and the family that's sitting there. Acknowledge the family. If you have negative energy, if you enter the room, if you enter the floor coming in from outside with negative energy, you start off negatively. You start off on the wrong foot with your patient, with yourself, with your team members. Then this negative energy is contagious, it's toxic, and it's detrimental to the environment. And the environment is supposed to be one of health and getting better. So it's very important to understand that not only is negative energy contagious, but also positive energy. So if you come with a positive attitude, with a smile on your face, he's always so pleasant. He's always in a good mood. He always looks at things from a positive perspective. Well, I see things from both sides, but I also see the value of looking at things and taking a positive line, because this positivity is contagious. The patients feel it. The patients are going through a very difficult time on multiple levels: physically, relationally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, intellectually, financially. All of these things, this patient is suffering in some way on this hospital bed, no matter what it is that they're there for. And if you take these things into consideration, and you accentuate the positives, you alleviate the negatives that you can, and you try and get them on the most efficient plan of care that you're able to do in this short amount of time that you're going to be with them, that you're going to be able to give them in this night, because your time is going to be divided between other people. So to just consider this as somewhat of a baseline for your nursing practice, then I just think that there's so much value in that one lesson that I want to precept people to help give them that lesson, because it's not necessarily one that's taught in nursing school. It's not necessarily one that's taught in orientation when you're learning about JCO and HIPAA and how to work the IV pump and the blood glucose monitor. So, with that being said, the reason I made this video is because I was asked to make a short 1-minute video on why it is that I want to be a preceptor, and I just didn't think I could do it in 1 minute. So I'm taking this time to make this video here. So I'm off to work right now, and it was so beautiful. I just figured I'd pull over to this pier and offer this view, offer this message, and just kind of take a different message on my website, mendyourself.com, rnhealthcoaching.com. So let me show you here. It's Christmas time and it's beautiful. Have a good day. Move, educate, nourish, decompress.